Hello, and thank you for attending this lightning round session, Fortress ILL, 5 steps your ILL department can take to increase data security and protect user privacy. My name is John Spracklen. I've been the Interlibrary Loan Supervisor at Gonzaga University since 2013 and finished my MLIS from the iSchool at San Jose State University in 2017. I would like to begin by acknowledging that this session was recorded on the ancestral homeland of the Spokane and Kootenai peoples on whose lands I live and work. Most people recognize that it is important to make personal data secure and that privacy is an important right of every individual. But why should resource sharing professionals be particularly concerned about this issue? At the most personal level, our patrons have entrusted us with some degree of information about themselves, and their assumption is that we will take steps to protect that information. By conducting a resource-sharing transaction on their behalf, we as practitioners have a contract with the patron to do our best to protect their data and their privacy. At the professional level, protecting the privacy of our users is a core value of librarianship, as defined by the ALA. As professionals in the information science field, ensuring user privacy is imperative in all areas of our work. Finally, by protecting the data and privacy of our users, we also protect the reputations of our varied institutions, be they academic, public, or private in nature. Data breaches can be embarrassing to an institution and could potentially lead to costly litigation. The first potential space for increasing data security and privacy I want to cover are email notifications to patrons. Take some time to read through your own notification templates, be they part of your ILL management system or sent to patrons from your ILS or directly from staff email. How much PII, or personally identifying information, is included in your notifications? Upon conducting a long overdue audit of my own department's ILLiad notifications a couple years ago, I was surprised to discover that most included the patron's username, phone number, mailing address, and other personal data in the text of the email. Determine which information is necessary to include in your notifications and remove everything else. Does the patron need us to tell them their phone number and address in every email we send? Probably not. But if that email were to be obtained by a third party, that could expose a significant amount of user data. If you are using notifications that came with your software out of the box or were inherited from the previous staff of your department, you owe it to your patrons and yourself to investigate what is in those messages and clean them up if needed. Another potential opportunity for malicious intrusion are patron logins to your ILL management system. Until just this last summer, my own department was running an ILLiad setup that had patron usernames and passwords stored on the ILLiad server. Library staff with permissions to manually change patron passwords were numerous, including many people outside of ILL, such as adjunct reference librarians. Until switching to a single sign-on system managed by University IT and using Microsoft Azure to validate users, I did not quite appreciate how much less secure our login system had been than what it is now. Should ILL departments be in the password management business? It doesn't necessarily need to be that way. Enabling an LDAP or SAML-based single sign-on might not be possible for your department or your ILL management system. If you are in the position of having library staff with access to patron passwords, consider restricting who has that access. Also consider starting a conversation with your IT department about ways to strengthen the security of your login system. One of the best ways to prevent data theft or breaches of patron privacy is to not possess the sensitive information in the first place. Setting up a data retention and collection policy is one way to ensure that you are not collecting too much personal information and that it is being purged as soon as it is no longer needed. The ILLiad setup my own department had been using for years collected a great deal of patron demographic and personal information, as well as a record of borrowing activity, and kept that information indefinitely. This created a situation where we were in possession of patron data going back many years for thousands of individuals. Since switching to a new ILL software last year, we implemented a 6-month data retention policy, which automatically strips personally identifiable information from request records after that time has passed. We also stopped collecting a vast swath of demographic data from each patron, opting instead to pull in the minimum number of data points required to validate each user and to send them notifications. When talking about privacy and data security, the focus is primarily on electronic records. However, ILL necessarily involves a physical paper trail for many transactions, and that paperwork often contains a certain amount of personal information. At the very least, it represents a record of a patron's borrowing activity, which absolutely must be kept private. Consider your paperwork handling practices in your ILL office. Where are documents stored? Who has access to them? Are they secure when staff are out of the office for the evening or the weekend? Additionally, consider data retention as well. The traditional expectation that paper records of ILL transactions be held for 2 or 3 years may be a policy that your library adheres to. In that case, make sure to destroy paper records that are older than that on a regular basis. Consider if patron data can be redacted from the stored paperwork to protect privacy. Finally, how is your paperwork disposed of? While most can simply be recycled, any document containing a patron's personal information or connecting a patron to a particular item or request should be shredded or otherwise destroyed. How borrowed ILL materials are handled can also present a potential breach of patron privacy or an opportunity to strengthen it. Consider what information is printed on the book strap or book sticker that you put on the item before circulating it to the patron. Does it contain more personally identifiable information than is necessary to get the book to the patron? If so, consider removing that excess information from your straps or stickers. Also consider where ILL books are stored while awaiting customer pickup. Are they behind a desk where staff must retrieve them? Or can patrons get them from a self-service area? Staffing and convenience may dictate the latter, and if so, steps should be taken to avoid other patrons accidentally or intentionally breaching each other's privacy. At my own library, we keep ILL books behind the circulation desk while awaiting customer pickup. However, with COVID-19 protocols requiring us to offer a curbside pickup option, we have opted to place books into brown paper bags marked with the patron's last name to protect privacy while still enabling self-service. How your library does this likely varies greatly from mine, but the intent is the same. Thank you for viewing this lightning round presentation. I hope you will come away with at least a couple of ideas for how you might strengthen data security and patron privacy in your own ILL department. I am unable to attend the live lightning round Q&A on the last day of the conference, so please feel free to send me any questions or comments via email or hit me up on Twitter. My handle is @MLISJohn. Thank you for your kind attention.